Back in those days, it was 5 of you would turn up for a presentation, you'd do your 1 hour presentation and then a client would pick. Initially, we just furniture and we developed it then into doing interiors and interior fit out.
We aren't really anything without our subbies who help us deliver the projects. So if you are treating them unfairly, you're never going to be getting the best out of them. The longevity of a client could be infinite. You might deliver a couple of glass partitions or change a couple of doors for them, and then ultimately that might lead into a big fit out. The 2020 to 2022, where there was a lot of remote work, collaboration through work, and suffered massively. Collaborating together and talking through projects is critical.
We don't care if a company's contracting or expanding as long as they're changing. So that means the design and build world will stay alive as long as there's change. If people stay static and never do anything, then that's going to be an issue.
It's funny that profit's like a really dirty word. Everyone's like, really, you want to make a profit?
So it's a 250 person canteen. The designers wanted terrazzo. It was a complete no-no because of budget. So what I did is I gave them the terrazzo for free. We made £12,000 less, but still made a decent margin. It was a big fit out. It was £1 million fit out.
Keith, thanks so much for coming on SQ.FT Stories.
No problem.
I mean, I'm laughing because it's one of the funniest, well, it's the funniest episode, to be fair, because I've never bumped into somebody half an hour ago and then asked you.
That you've never met, yeah?
I've never met, and just, do you want to come on the podcast? So, yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
No problem at all.
We'll dive into loads of topics about the design and build industry, but, you know, if you want to start back to how you made your way into the industry and how it went from there, really.
Okay. Originally, I started in Business Moves Group, so they're a relocations company, and I was headhunted by what was at the time called Furniture Solutions Limited. A guy called Gary Malkin and Ben Martin were the team at the time. They came along because Ben and I started talking about air-on chairs, like you do, and I had no clue what an air-on chair was.
What's an air-on chair?
An air-on chair is a chair made by a company called Herman Miller.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of it's quite a famous chair and renowned and costs lots of money and is still popular today.
Cool.
In fact, we sell lots of second-hand ones.
Cool.
And Ben and I started talking, went along, spoke to Ben and Gary at the time. They employed me, and then I started selling furniture for Furniture Solutions Limited. That's what they were called at the time,
yeah.
And they were part of the Maris Group.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And that was 20 years ago, yep.
So, you know, 20 years to now, from 20 years ago, there's a long, illustrious career in there. So why don't you break it down and let us know how you made your way through it? So you started off at Furniture Solutions Limited,
yep.
Selling furniture,
yep.
Predominantly to D&B companies?
No, so it was to end users because Maris were doing the fit out generally. Furniture Solutions Limited would then supply the furniture. I would work alongside Ben selling furniture into end clients, and then we then developed that because each client asked for a bit more. Can you do carpet? Can you do curtains and blinds and whatever? And then you sort of just expand the company. And then it became FSL Interiors, and we started selling fit out until I left about 4 years ago. Yep.
So you left 4 years ago. So you were there 16 years, if I'm
yep.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
You must have carried out some, like illustrious projects in the 16 years. So it started from, selling furniture, and then a little bit gets added on, a little bit gets added on. So how did you make your way through the company? So you were selling furniture. Did you stay selling the furniture, or did you sort of get involved in the fit outs or anything like that?
So initially we all sold just furniture, and then each client would ask for that bit more, and then you naturally, what salespeople are like, you naturally just want to sell everything at any time. And we developed it then into doing interiors and interior fit out. And we weren't ever in competition with the big guys that owned us, so it worked out well to do that.
Yeah.
And then we just started pushing the interiors side and then grew it. So when I left about 4 years ago, it's doing about 30 million, something like that.
Yeah, they're a big outfit, aren't they? So who were your competitors back then?
So back then it was the usual crowd, so Morgan Lovell, Optra. Locally we had some smaller companies, Grey Interiors, AI, and then you had the big boys that we come across every now and again, which are Overbreeze and ISG at the time. Sadly gone bust recently.
Sadly gone bust, yeah. It's a shame that is for the industry. Because I feel like the design and build industry is, I've not been in it anywhere near as long as you, but I feel like it's changed so much, and ever since I've been in it, to be fair, and I'm assuming since you've been in it, it's changed drastically. So, like, what was it like back then compared to like now as such?
I guess, to start off with, we had to learn what traditional meant and what design and build meant, and I never understood the difference for a while, because it was simply everything seemed to get designed anyway. But back in those days, it was, I guess, quite aggressive, the industry, selling against some others, and 5 of you would turn up for a presentation, you'd all roll in and you'd do your 1 hour presentation, and then a client would pick. I think things have changed a lot recently. I think decisions are made almost prior to that.
Yeah.
The beauty parade thing, I'm not sure is the best way for a client to pick a company to work with. It's more about relationships and all that sort of stuff. But Paul, a guy who I used to work with at Maris, he mentioned on LinkedIn recently how the beauty parades weren't necessarily the right way to pick things. And I don't think they are. And I think it's changing now. Yeah.
So was that more prominent back then, was it?
It was.
Was it?
Yep. We used to roll up, queue up outside, shake the hands of the people that had done the presentation before, because we knew each other. We knew all of them. You'd all shake hands as one goes in and one comes out and all that sort of stuff. And then, so things have changed recently. A lot of the wins that we've been doing, there sort of still is a beauty parade, but I think it's more about relationships, and the client spends a bit longer with each of the people developing that relationship. I mean, they've got to work with them on what's potentially the most important project of some of their lives,
Yeah, sure.
For up to, the project I've just finished went over 18 months.
Did it?
Yeah.
It's a long time for a project. And for those listening who might not know what the beauty parade is, give us a little bit of info about that.
Okay, so you might narrow it down. I mean, back in the day, you might have got 7 or 8 companies, and most of them would have said no, rightly so. So you might be up against 2 other companies, and you would be given a slot, usually 1 hour. And in that slot, you would have worked out what your price is going to be. You would have worked out what your design is going to be, what the space plan is going to be, and then you would go and sit in front of a team of people around a table, usually a PowerPoint or something like that, and then present your design, present the finishes, what your costs might be, and then you answer a load of questions on it, and then you walk out the door. They have a 10-minute break for a coffee, and then the next guys would then come in and do their presentation. And it still happens these days, and we still do it every now and again. But I think it's less often that happens now, thankfully.
It's interesting you say the relationship side of things. So numerous people I've recorded with as well have said that's how it's changed so much. It's so much more relationship-led now. And like you said, clients, you're basically going on a journey with a client, and they want someone they can trust rather than someone they've just met in the beauty parade as such.
Well, it's the same with interviews. I mean, if you've ever interviewed somebody, if you can interview 5 different people for 1 hour each and then pick somebody to work with, I mean, that's quite a challenge, isn't it? Quite a risk.
Yeah.
So you might span it over 3 interviews, but if you could spend 10 hours with each of these guys, with only 3 of them, you've probably got a better chance of finding somebody that you'll actually work with quite well.
So what sort of projects, like as you worked your way through FSL and like you were there for a long time, how did the projects sort of roll out? So I assume, and I don't mean to assume anything, but it started off smaller, maybe a couple of 1,000 square feet, and then you worked your way into...
And then it got to bigger projects after that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and in terms of like were you ever in the delivery side of the projects?
Yeah, so my role, my original role as being furniture was as operations director. So I was on the delivery side all of the time, really. And then I like smaller jobs like that. And even now with my present company, Lume Interiors, even now, I'll be on the coalface, as it were.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, I'm at a client meeting with the rest of my team, sat with the client round a table. So, cool. Yeah, and I like it like that.
Just a short break from the episode, which I really hope you guys are enjoying. This podcast has been invaluable for me, and I hope it's providing a lot of value for yourselves. If you could just do me one small favor and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform, not only does it help me and the podcast, but it also helps share stories and insights from the industry that we find ourselves in. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. And as the delivery side of things as well, so obviously the projects have escalated so much, but how have you found delivering projects? How has that changed over the years?
I guess we're a lot more strict now on the health and safety side. JCT contracts got sorted out in the end, so they sort of protect us all a bit, us and the clients really. And project management and the building control and all the rest of it has got tied up so much that it's a good thing, because it keeps us in balance and stops the cowboys getting away with the bits and pieces that they used to get away with.
If you don't mind me asking, when you say JCTs have been cleared up a little bit, what was that like before it got cleared up compared to...
Well, sometimes you would go in a contract without a JCT. It would be whatever contract somebody managed to make up. And then there'd be about 4,000 amendments made to it by the guys that you're showing it to. But that's cleaned up a bit now that the project managers know, they're controlling it a bit more. and your CA, your contract administrator's got a bit of a job to do there. So that side of it's a bit cleaner and tidied up quite a lot.
You must have learnt so much in those years with FSL, obviously with the parent company Morris as well, just about the industry as such. There must have been, because like I said, it's changed so much. So, you know, as your time there came to a bit of an end, like how come you decided to leave, and what made you want to start up on your own?
So I left. It was a big company. It was a good company to work for, and I was paid decent money, but I wanted to change my approach to fit out projects. So I set up Lume Interiors 4 years ago on the basis that we wanted to go in at a decent price. We still have to make a margin. I don't have to make such a big margin as I used to.
Cover that overhead.
Yep, that's right. So we still have to make that margin. It doesn't need to be so large. I don't need to smash the client for extras every time that we try and win a bid by going in low. None of that happens anymore. We have a good relationship with subcontractors that I can retain, treating them fairly. So I'm sure I could beat them all up a bit more and get them down in price a bit more. But the subcontractors that we do use, they're happy, they get a decent price, the client gets a good price. So it's all about service. So I left because I wanted to set up my own company and concentrate on service more than anything. And clarity is our key word as a company. If you go on the website, you'll look at that. It's all about clarity for the client and for the subcontractor. Yeah,
it's interesting you say that about the subcontractors, because again, it's been a topic of conversation quite a lot on this podcast, and also as you're scrolling through LinkedIn, you're always reading bits and bobs. But the treatment of subbies seems to be a lot better nowadays than what it used to be like, because I think I did a post as well actually about the fact that you are realistically, as a designer build company as we aren't really anything without our subbies who help us deliver the projects.
Yep.
So if you are treating them unfairly, and you know you're never going to be getting the best out of them.
No.
And they'll just ultimately, you know, whoever their client pool is and whoever they like represent, if you're not treating them fairly, and you know you're nitpicking at their pricing, nitpicking at their applications, and like just trying to dig them out for money, they're never going to want to work with you again.
Yeah, and that's what I struggled with in the past.
Yeah.
And so at Lume Interiors, we don't suffer from that. I get a decent price. I make sure we get a decent price. I mean, we're in business. You know, and we might go to 2 or 3 companies and make sure the price is settled. But yeah, there's none of that happens anymore. We have decent subbies. And like you say, they're on the coalface as much as we are.
And it's funny you say that. You have to say as well that, you know, that you have to get a decent price because we're a business and you need to make money. It's funny that profit's like a really dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like everyone's like, really, you want to make a profit?
Well, in the old days, we used to get questioned about, do you have all your own staff or do you subcontract? Every single fit out company, every single design and building company that you and I know, all subcontract.
Yeah, of course they do.
You know what I mean? That's what we do. That's what it's about. We just put the right people together with the right design. Yeah.
So let's chat about Lume. So you started that 4 years ago, was it?
4 years ago, yeah.
Did you start on your own?
Started on my own.
Yeah.
I worked for Business Moves for a bit and helped them develop their sales team.
Yep.
While I set up Lume Interiors.
And who are Business Moves? Sorry to interrupt.
So Business Moves, they're a company that I worked with 20 years ago. So they're a relocations company.
Yeah.
I went back to work with them because obviously in the fit out world, when you leave one company, it's very difficult to speak to anyone really. So I went back and helped them develop their sales whilst developing Lume Interiors.
Okay.
And then we had a particularly nice win with I'm not allowed to say the name, but with an automotive company near the West Midlands. And that's the project that we've been working on for 18 months, just delivering the full fit out at their head office and furniture. And then we've started to win various projects like that since, some that we can name, like Bournemouth Football Club, for instance. Nice. I was there this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've done some fit out for them. All the furniture that we've supplied for them goes in next week. Yeah. Some
illustrious projects. So that project, I mean, obviously you don't have to mention names, but the one that was 18 months, so, and again, you don't have to mention values or anything like that, but if it's an 18-month project, obviously the value must have been a big value of, and you know, you guys have recently been created. So like, did you have to pull together a bit of a team to be able to deliver that project?
Yes. Yeah. So luckily, I employed some people, so we had a good base team. I made a point of going and speaking to local companies, of which some of them were their current suppliers, which they were very keen on, and that's part of why we won it, I think. So we used their own suppliers, their local company. We did all the design, working with their design team, and just put a team together to deliver it.
Nice. Yeah, you know, like it's difficult though, isn't it, because sometimes we get caught up if there's big projects that get put out in front of you. It's difficult to weigh up whether is that a carrot dangler? Do we do it? Do we have the facilities to do it?
Yeah.
Shall we do it? Is that going to affect other projects that we're carrying out? But obviously you're well versed, you've been in it for 20 years.
Yeah, I know what we can handle, what we can't. I knew this needed a bit of a personal touch.
Yeah.
That was fine. And if we're offered big projects now, I know when to say that they're too big.
Yeah.
And I've got a company that I will hand them off to. Then the same company give me some smaller bits and pieces, so I know exactly where I sit. So yeah, that's no problem at all.
It's good, and it's an interesting talking point, this one actually, because I mentioned earlier there's a couple of companies that we give work to, and
you
vice
do the
versa.
same, don't you? Yeah.
It's the same thing, but it's funny because like on the face of it, there's a lot of people who they want their own clients for themselves, and they're like, I'm not giving you, if this work's come in, I'm not giving it to another D&B company or fit out contractor, because ultimately a client, the longevity of a client could be infinite. You never know when you might deliver a couple of glass partitions or change a couple of doors for them, and then ultimately that might lead into a big fit out. So there's a lot of companies out there that want to just keep the clients to themselves, and they don't want to share, or I'm not saying share, but like you said, if you've got the self-awareness to realise that that's probably not the project for us, let's work together on something rather than. But there's just a lot of companies, I won't name names, but there's a lot of companies who don't want to work like that. They're just in it for themselves.
Yeah, well they are. Yeah, the company that I work with is a big company, they turn over 100 million.
Yeah.
They're a design and build company based in London. Most of the people there are ex-Maris, funnily enough. And they also know when a project is too far away for them, or a little bit unique or small or whatever the case might be, that might not suit them. And as long as they're aware of that, and we're pretty sensible as well, and if we have a large one that we can hand off to them, we're not going to bite off more than we can chew. Yeah. But also we're not going to bite off the hand that feeds us, And if we ever come up against them, and I have done a couple of times, we've just backed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about the so as Lume Interiors, like what's sort of like the ideal projects for you guys? Like what do you, if you were to name your ideal projects, like how would that look?
So I mean it varies. The one I was talking about earlier was very large.
Yeah.
We've got a small project in Southampton that starts in 2 weeks' time. That's £60,000.
Yeah.
But our sweet spot is really anything from 200,000 to $1 million, much like yours actually.
Similar.
Yeah, exact same sweet spots really. They're ideal for us. What we like to do, so we do design and build and furniture and all that sort of stuff. We also get involved with reused furniture quite a lot. We sell new furniture, but there's so much decent furniture out there. There's a client that's stripping out a building in Bristol and in London, and we've just bought all the reused furniture from them. And then, for instance, Bournemouth Football Club, we've just supplied the first team with all their new furniture. The install goes in 2 weeks' time. The Academy, we've got reused furniture. They won't even know it's in such good condition. But obviously, Bournemouth Football Club save a load of money.
Yeah.
Nothing goes to waste. And we managed to sell that at the same time. So we're not a second-hand furniture dealer by any means. But we see a massive value in that reused furniture being sold alongside new furniture.
Interesting. So, because I don't know anybody else who does that, to be honest with you. Majority of furniture suppliers are, brand new, sort of off-the-shelf type things. So, how did that come about? Because it's called
so we have another company called Receipt.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so we're Lume Interiors, and then we have Receipt. There's a big American company called receipt.com. We're receipt.co.uk. It came about by accident because so many clients, when we were helping strip them out, actually it occurred to me a business move. So especially with COVID, a lot of big offices are closing down, and they were closing down with furniture that had never been sat in. So yes, you could go to landfill, you could go to recycle it, you could go to reuse and all that sort of stuff. And we were also very conscious we didn't want to become a second-hand furniture dealer only. You can imagine the shop on the high street with the Bisley cabinet sat outside it and the dodgy old chair sat next to it, that sort of thing. We didn't want to be that.
Yeah.
So we thought it's a little bit of a unique approach where we sell new and we sell reuse alongside it, and we haven't had a client yet, not one, that has said no to the idea. Even the large automotive company, they've taken some reused furniture. Bournemouth Football Club, loads of clients. Every single client we've ever had actually takes a bit of both.
Do they?
Yeah.
I suppose if it doesn't, if it doesn't compromise the quality, then why not? If you're saving cost as well.
Yeah. Well, quite often they'll get an Aeron chair.
Yeah.
for the price of a standard operator's chair, you know. Yeah,
it's hard to say no, really, isn't it? If you're,
it is.
It's like it's almost like you don't really need to sell it because it's a win-win for both parties.
It is, and for the people that say. The only way you could lose is if you end up buying so much stock you stick it in a warehouse, and it costs you 30 grand a year to store it, and you don't sell any of it. That's a lot of people have come unstuck. A lot of companies that have tried to do it in the past have come unstuck by doing that. They've overloaded the second-hand furniture they've bought. It's cost them too much to store, and then, you know, by the time you sell it, there's no profit.
Interesting. Like I said, I don't know anyone else who actually does that. So that's a nice USP there. Where do you see, like, just the design and build industry as a whole and fit out? Like, where do you see that getting to in the next, you know, like 5-10 years? Because it's changed, like we've already spoken about, it's changed so much from then to now. Obviously, it's a lot more regulated. There's a lot more hoops you've got to jump through for the right reasons as well. Like you said, it eliminates the cowboys out of it as such. But like, where do you see it getting to? Because there's a big, you know, there's a big conversation about like just the workplace in general, office, like, because a lot less people work from offices, they work from home, and you know, you don't have the demand for office fit out. Well, I don't know, but the demand for office fit out might not be there as such as of demand it has been in 5-10 years. So like, where do you see it going?
Well, it's interesting. This is only my personal opinion.
You got to caveat it.
Only my personal opinion.
Yeah, of course.
But a couple of points you're talking about there, and again, Paul Sherwin, he wrote a bit on LinkedIn about the pitches and design and build and all that sort of stuff and the value of it recently. So we've seen ISG go bust. We've seen traditional people working on very, very low margins, or having to beat up the subbies probably, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So there's been a switch away from that model, I believe. And I believe that, obviously, who was it recently announced they're local, that they want their staff to come back to work? Not Chase.
JP Morgan.
Yeah. So they follow Goldman. Yeah. And I see a lot of other people doing it. Now, we suffer as a small business. We don't currently have an office. I have the overhead. Yep. So I bumped into you today because we're both here, sharing a meeting room next door, sharing the office space here, which works for us. Yeah. It really does work for us and helps us keep the overheads down. Sure. But at the same time, we really, really miss that. And everyone was just literally 5 minutes ago, we sat around that meeting room table and Mark said, I really like it here. Yeah. I really like us sitting around as a team working together. You know, there's a bit of banter and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so I think that will always be missed enough to warrant offices.
Definitely. I actually agree with you. I completely agree with you, actually, because, you know, like, well, especially the industry that we're in and the service and the products that we're trying to sell and deliver, is collaboration super key. So like, you're obviously in there with your employees and the guys that work for you. So like, collaborating together and talking through projects is critical because, you know, like, so many things can get lost in translation on a project timeline. Yeah. And like, if you're not in the office working day to day with people, and, you know, like, conversations happen and things come off those conversations about talking about projects and different designs and how to deliver it. Yep. Again, I'll caveat with my opinion as well, but in my opinion, there is a space for working remotely, because, you know, like, I work with people remotely as well, and that's not, you know, that's not the fit out stuff, but with this podcast I work with editors that are remote as well. So there's a place for remote working.
There is, yeah.
But I do think that you know, like, especially the 2020 to 2022, where there was a lot of remote working, I do think that relationships suffered quite a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, collaboration through working suffered massively. Yep. I really do.
Yeah, completely agree. And then any company who's either going to expand because they want people to work more, or they're going to contract. We're doing a job for a company in Paddington, actually, in the Point. And they're contracting because they don't need 2 floors. So we don't care if a company's contracting or expanding, as long as they're changing. Yeah. So that means the design and build world will stay alive. True. As long as there's change.
Interesting.
If people stay static and never do anything, then that's going to be an issue. Yeah. But I don't believe that to be the case, especially for a small company like ours. You know, we turn over 5 million. Within 5 years, we're going to turn over 10 million. That's small compared to, you know, the Morris and the Octras that are turning over 150, 200 million, that sort of stuff. Yep. So I think there's always going to be space for us here, for somebody with a decent service. And J. Dayden Interiors, sure. You know, much the same.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, definitely. And, you know, like, the bigger guys as such, because they carry the bigger projects, and they carry that big overhead, and there's big costs involved in it. I agree with you in terms of the smaller guys that, you know, can operate a little bit more efficiently and a little bit more leaner. You know, their pricing's probably a little bit more aligned with certain clientele. I think there's a space for yourselves and us and people who operate similar to us.
Definitely, yeah, especially outside of London, because we're sat here in Poole, and we've got clients around the south coast. I mean, bizarrely, my projects are happening in Coventry and Telford at the moment. But I don't know why. We're on site in Basingstoke right now, and then we've got one in Southampton starting soon, and we've got Crawley. But they seem to be all over the place. But anything outside of London, then our little personal service comes into play a bit more. Yeah.
And the projects that you're carrying out, the little ones that you mentioned there, are they with, and by no means do you have to mention any names or anything, are they with like pre-existing clients? Do you predominantly just work with pre-existing clients, or do you kind of like push for new clients?
They're all new clients. So part of Ben's role is business development. They're all new clients, and they tend to be introductions or names been passed off through somebody else, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And then Ben's new to the business.
Yeah, so he's been with us just over a year now. Yep.
And then he's in business development type of thing?
He's business development, and he's project director now as well. So he's delivering the Basingstoke project. I'm backing off and looking at some other new business, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything?
And obviously Receipt's keeping us busy at the same time, so I'm developing that.
You've got it all going on, haven't you?
Yeah, we have at the moment, yeah.
And then you mentioned there new business. Is that new business for Lume, or is that new business that you're starting?
New business for Lume Interiors, as in new clients. And then with Receipt as well, we believe that, Jade Interiors, let me give you an example. You win a project and you're supplying some furniture to a new client, but they want some really nice boardroom chairs, but they're tight on their budget. You might say, Keith, what have you got? And I've got some Eames chairs, actually. Beautiful chairs, and they're second hand, so they're half the price that you get them anywhere else, all that sort of good stuff. Receipt might start developing with other companies. Yeah.
I'm sold. Where are those chairs? This is supposed to be a podcast, not a sales pitch. It's interesting to just hear the Receipt stuff, to be fair, because everyone, fit out companies and design and build companies usually go in with the mindset that everything's got to be new, brand new for the client. And I don't know if they value engineer it to suit stuff like to be able to bring in companies like Receipt, and we can save a bit of money here, and ultimately that kind of thing could get a project over the line. It
could, and that's our aim, really. So they have the designer might have a certain idea about what they want to deliver, but the budget dictates that they're going to go to low end. I call it catalogue furniture, and I don't mean to be rude to catalogue companies, but you know what I mean when I'm saying that. Rather than a high end Italian sofa. But Bournemouth Football Club, for instance, so we wanted some particular sofas for the first team to have around the area, where they've got a pool table and a dartboard and a TV and all that sort of stuff. But the cost of the sofas that we wanted, Italian sofas, were about £8,000 each. We happen to have another client who was redesigning their ground floor, who have got some beautiful Italian sofas, BB Italia actually, that were about that much each, but sort of, they're going to save 80% on the cost. They will not know. They will not know that they're reused items that they're getting. It is a win-win.
It really is, let's touch on sort of like, I know you mentioned very, very briefly there a small plan with Lume in the future, but where do you want the Lume Interior side of things to get to, and also with Receipt as well? What's the future plans of the two of them?
So Lume Interiors, we're turning over 5 million at the moment. I'd like to be doing 10 million in 5 years' time. I'd like to bring on people that are able to then take over the company, buy me out. I won't be greedy when it comes to buying me out, because I want the company to succeed. My daughter works for us as well. And so they can then decide to take it and become maybe the size of the big boys. I have no wish to do that. I do not want 150, 200 staff and the headaches that would bring.
You've been there and done that.
Yeah.
You've been involved in all
and
that.
I've got a certain lifestyle, and I'm not lavish by any means that I need to hit, and we can do that comfortably, no problem at all. And the whole team could do well out of it too. So so that's the aim really, is 10 million in 5 years' time, and probably 20 million in 10 years' time, but then it may be, it may settle at that sort of figure with a staff of 30 to 40 people, something like that.
And then how do you see that progressing in terms of like the staff side of things? So from 5 million to 10 million pound doubling in turnover, there's certain personnel that needs to be brought in, but in terms of like the staff, not doubling, because that might not be the case, but like what sort of staff do you need to bring in to be able to hit the 10 million?
So that's the biggest issue. That is the biggest issue running any business. And I've made some, I wouldn't say mistakes, errors of judgments, even in the last 4 years of growing Lume. I've had people accept the job, and then the day before they're coming to start, tell me that they're not. And they've taken a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
And this is 2 weeks ago. You've been lining them up and all that sort of stuff. So that was an error of judgment on my part. Over expectation. So I think we've got a really great opportunity for someone to start now, grow with the company, and benefit and be the operations director, sales director, whatever they want to be in the future of a small company that's growing. But quite often we can't compete with the money that some of the big boys are paying, and they'll go and chase that bit of money and not quite see the big
picture. Sorry,
There's
a big picture in that, because if they join a bigger player like the Octra, or just naming a couple that we've named today, they're just a cog in the machine really once they get there, because there's hundreds of staff. They might be situated in like a director level there, but realistically there's so many management levels there. But if they were to join someone like yourself, it's not just a cog in the machine, isn't it? It's like they're a big part to play in terms of growing the company.
They are, that's what I see from a smaller company. Octra are one of the better ones, actually. There's a lot that I could mention, and I won't name them that are far worse, but they're one of the good guys, really, in terms of progression. But so somebody who joins me now and can see that in 5 years' time they're going to be a much bigger part of our little company. But finding them,
it's a nightmare. Well, why do you think that is a nightmare, finding people, especially like younger personnel as well? I've spoken to a lot of actual like construction company owners who carry out the actual projects themselves, and they're struggling with younger personnel just coming to work on sites. But there's also, I think as well, like there's a gap for younger people coming into the office in terms of design and build companies, because a lot of the people that are floating around different companies, and a lot of people who you can employ, tend to be people not older, but people you like 30s, 40s, 50s. There's not a lot of younger, like late teens. I know it's quite young, but and then into your 20s who are coming and who want to be in the industry.
Yep.
And I don't know why.
It's a fine balance, isn't it? So I want to employ somebody for as little money as you can pay, obviously, with 30 years experience, who work in exactly the same way as me. Of course, that person is not out there. They just aren't. I was always told when I was being trained, only expect somebody to do anything 70% as well as you can do it yourself. Don't ever expect 100%, because they're not you. And so that's one of the mantras I've tried to follow if somebody's going to come and work for you. So finding that person with experience and for that money is difficult. So we've done a couple of things. We've got some people that work for us with experience, and we've just taken on some new people that we believe have the right attitude that will then learn from those others. And as long as you try and get that mix right, that's touch wood, that's hopefully the right thing to do.
How about that's your plans with Lume, but what about your plans with Reseat?
So Reseat is only about 6 months old now. That's starting to go really well, because we've got the right choices of furniture. If somebody, there's some large companies out there that are clearing out offices that have asked us to come and look at the furniture. Now this is old furniture. We're talking old beach-coloured corner cord tables, blue. You remember the 70s blue chairs that you get everywhere? Is that
only 29,
sort of stuff?
I wasn't even thought about that.
I should have thought about that, shouldn't I? You've probably seen the blue I'm talking about, though. It's awful. It's obviously not for us, and that can be recycled. And there's people like Sam Coggins. I don't know if you know Sam Coggins. He's a great guy. He does a lot for recycling and for resale, actually. And those sort of things are more suited to him. But where we come in is picking the right furniture that we know that we can resell within the next 6 months. Pods. Pods are massively popular at the moment. And they're coming down in price as well, but reused pods are a good thing for Reseat to follow up on. Seating's obviously a good one as well, especially decent operators' chairs and all that sort of stuff that don't need too much refurb. And if we have to recover everything and we have to refurbish everything, we don't have the facilities to do that. Sam does, so we'll make sure it's in the right condition to then sell on. And the key for us is to have that pipeline of people that want it. So the job in Coventry, I reckon they would take 50% reused furniture and 50% new. The job in Telford that I'm talking about would probably be the same mix, because obviously the new furniture companies that we're buying from, they want us to sell as much of their stuff as they can, so we need to keep them happy as well. But there's more and more of them happening, so I think Reseat will be successful.
Yeah.
So we're even we're looking for an office actually locally, part of that collaboration thing, the part of the thing that I said we didn't need. We're actually looking for an office locally here, and are probably going to combine that with a sort of a showroom, really, to show this second-hand reused furniture. There's a shop just outside of here actually that do up furniture for residential.
Yeah.
That sort of vibe, but on the commercial side of things.
That could be huge for you guys, because I suppose, is that quite difficult? Is that a stumbling block in the sale where people want to come and see the furniture? Because, like you said, I know you're not a second-hand dealer, but a lot of people might see it like that. For just from my perspective, I'm just saying that from my perspective. Like, it looks like, by no means is it, but like, if it was me, I'd be like, can I come and see it?
Can I
come and see what we're buying there? Because ultimately I'm selling this to a client, and I don't want to be delivering something that I wouldn't be happy with, and let alone what the client would be happy with. So,
and sometimes some of the photographs that you're sent are really dodgy old pictures from awful phones with really not very well lit from a camera point of view. Your man there will know. And so decent photography is one thing, but having somewhere where they can look at it, or case studies. I've got Paragraph in Cambridge. That office, you would not know that any of that stuff was reused. But they saved a fortune, and they're really happy, and they're a great advocate for Reseat, that company, Paragraph.
How about sort of like plans for yourself? So like you've grown Lume to what it is now, and like Reseat starting, you've got huge plans of both of them. What about like plans for yourself, Keith? What's the goal for yourself?
So I live down in Poole here with my wife and our dog, 2 children. Like going out on the boat. We're off to Kenya in 2 days travelling. Nice. So my wife and I want to do more than that. So I'll by no means back off from the business, because I love what I do. I mean, we have the best job in the world as being involved in our industry, because every single day is different. Tomorrow I'm in Basingstoke. I'm sat in a project meeting. Today I'm here talking to the team. Tomorrow I'll be going to look at some reused furniture in the centre of London, and every single day is different. So it's fantastic. But I can see myself backing off more and just helping my team, mentoring them really, developing them, and then travelling a bit more, seeing more of the world.
It's funny you say that about our industry. It is a very nice industry to be involved in, because
it is.
Like you said, there's it's what I love so much about it is how many different people you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. That I love dealing with people and like building relationships with people, and everyone's different, and you meet characters along the way. And like there's problem solving, and we're looking at like when you're carrying out a project, you're looking at the nuts and bolts of a project, so you've got to get really stuck into it, and then there's the design side of it, which looks really nice at the end of it. So I feel like you do get a bit of everything with our job. Yeah,
you do, definitely. And I think so our approach, and one of the reasons we won the automotive. Yeah. Automotive? Oh, well.
I don't even know what I was saying. You're confusing me now.
Was our approach, and the guys in Basingstoke actually that we won this job recently, they said that we picked you guys because we look like we'd have fun working with you, because it's got to be about fun, isn't it?
Of course,
Christ, that's why we all come to work every day.
But you don't want to be bored at work. You spend most of your time doing it. So
definitely not. And being easy to work with. So we've promised them that if we have a problem, it's probably a bit old hat and a bit corny to say, but for every problem we'll give you 2 solutions. Okay, so that wall can't go there, so we can do this, we can change the wall, or we can put it over here, or you can use a different material. Do you know what I mean? So we've promised to give them 2 solutions for every problem, and that's one of the reasons that we won that job.
Interesting actually topic to talk about that, in terms of like by the sounds of it, you're obviously very, very, you hold customer service in high regard. Do you think customer service like has lapsed a bit over the years?
Yes, it's horrendous in some cases, and I wouldn't put it over profit, because profit's got to be your number one driver. Nobody sets up any business ever not to make profit. That has to be the number one. But very, very, very close behind it has to be service. It's all about service. And I remember, the job that we won, and we were fitting out their canteen. So it's a 250-person canteen. The designers wanted terrazzo. Terrazzo is the type of tiling that they wanted to go on the wall behind the T-points. It was a complete no-no because of budget. So what I did is I gave them the terrazzo for free. So this cost Lume probably about £12,000. Previously, in my previous companies, there's no way I'd have been able to do that. No way on earth. But we went ahead and did it. Of course, they then loved it. They were very happy. We made £12,000 less, but still made a decent margin.
Yeah, sure. What sort of margin do you making? To give away 12 grand.
Well, it was a big fit out. It was £1 million fit out. Yeah. And then we went on to win the rest of the job, and we fitted out all their offices after that. So yeah, it was nice to be able to do that.
Something to be said for that, giving away that. And, the monetary side of it doesn't really mean so much, the £12,000, but it's more the gesture, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, you've done something for a client that you didn't have to do, and not many other people do that. And ultimately that's led on to future work.
Yep, definitely.
I was talking with someone again about, not in terms of like the fit out contractor to client side of things, but the fit out contractor to subcontractor side of things, that we've had times where subbies have done stuff for us and they haven't charged us, and it makes you think, do you know what, like, I'll use you again and again and again. And there's other times where we've had subbies who have done one little extra thing, and they've tried to variation you for 50 quid, and you're like, yeah. By no means we expect them to do it for free, but it's just that whole client relationship side of things, and swings and roundabouts. Touch
wood, hopefully all of our subbies will say the same thing about us, and if we need them to put 2 extra plug sockets in there, they'll do it for us.
They'll do it for you.
And in the same way, we'll pay them on time, and we won't beat them up every time we ask them to do something.
Paying on time is a nightmare, isn't it? There's so many people who don't pay on time, chip them at the end, and
we're really good at that, and it's all about service. That's the same thing. That's credit to you guys if you do pay on time and you do what you need to do to keep the subbies happy. Keith, it's been a really interesting chat, to be fair. Thank you. Considering we only met each other 35 minutes ago.
No, it's actually been really enjoyable, to be fair, catching up with you about the industry, learning more about Lume, your opinions on the industry, what it's been like before, and also it's really interesting receipt. It's something that I'll look into for sure at Jade Aden. It seems like a bit of a win-win, and there seems like I can utilise it for certain projects.
I can't see any negatives about it yet. Maybe somebody will tell me about it soon.
You're a good salesman. It's the only reason why you want to come on there. I'm really joking, but mate, thank you so much for coming on at such short notice. It's been a great chat, and thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Cheers.